How the Universe Tests You Before Your Manifestation Works. Part 2. Welcome to Spirita Vivo. Pass this test from the universe, and it will manifest. In today's podcast, we want to revisit how the universe tests you before you successfully manifest to our earlier podcast episode, as some questions or misconceptions arose. The topic is popular as this episode has received almost 300,000 views. You can find a link to that podcast at the end of this episode and in the info box below. Today, let's talk about how the universe will test you before your manifestation arrives and what you must do to pass that test. There is one point that we want to look at again. After all, it is so important because most people fail at this very point.
Okay, you wish for something. You want to have that one thing or event in your life. One way to do this is to make contact with God, the universe, the higher self, or call it what you like, through methods that I'm sure are familiar to you, such as meditation, visualizations, affirmations, and others. But there is something important that you must master in order not to fail. We call it a test because no better term describes this process. Of course, the word test cannot imply deceitfulness, malicious testing, or anything like that by the universe, because that would only reflect our morality and is not part of the cosmic plan. Well, there is this test, and if you know what it looks like, what we will talk about today, and what you must do to pass it, then it will be child's play for you to pass this test. If you become aware, say to yourself, okay, this right now is just a test. There's a reason why it is happening right now, and I am adjusting to it. In such a moment, be aware that this is the transitional phase before your manifestation arrives. And if you don't know that it's a test, you will most likely fail. And most people fail this test. That's why most people fail to live the life they want to live. And one thing is that often, when you manifest something that, for a while, your life seems to collapse. Maybe your partner leaves you, you lose your job, or you've been on a good path with your business, and suddenly the income goes down. We're talking about events where something happens that make you feel like your life is falling apart. Your old world as you knew it is suddenly against you. Things are not going so well anymore. We should be aware of one fact at such a moment. This is all just a transitional phase in the end, where the universe makes room for the new. The bottom line is that the old, which no longer fits your new version, is being flushed out of your reality layer. Your reality layer is being cleansed, and space is being made for the new. Most people in this situation think, oh my God, it's not working. My world is falling apart, and then hold on to the old. But what you have to do in this case is just let go. Accept that the universe is just going the most effective way for you and make room for your manifestation. The universe is always trying to teach you that everything is impermanent, that nothing is really important, that you should cling to it. But if you continue to stick, but you think, why is this person gone from my life? Why is everything going against me? Energetically, you are still holding on to this old thing, this old person, whatever it is. And because of that, no new space has been created to manifest the new something you want. Therefore, you must let go and realize it's just the transition phase before it goes uphill again. Yes, before it can go steeply uphill, it must briefly go downhill. But more accurately, this is the cleansing phase, and that's where it is a good idea for you to rein yourself in. You have to stick to your course seriously. Everything is moving according to the laws, as it must be. Only the mind will think, oh no, it's going badly. Everything is collapsing. You must not fall into the trap that the reason sets for you. Otherwise, you will break your manifestation. It is just the transition phase. Realize that, and keep that in mind often. And just when something happens where it might go downhill, for example, when I see on our YouTube channel, okay, now the views aren't going up as fast as they used to, or, oh my God, the numbers are going down, and I keep in mind that this is just the testing phase. Of course, pausing, reviewing, and adjusting certain things is important. But the key here is what mindset I have. Finally, I know though, okay, it's going to come back up. So you're already going into the feeling of the future when it's going downhill as if it's already happened, because you know it will go uphill again. You're already looking forward to it. And just by feeling that way and looking at it that way, you're attracting more of what you want to manifest, because you've passed the test. In this way, you have framed it correctly and seen through the whole thing. However, if you don't understand that this is just a test, you start worrying. If you fall into the trap of the mind, you will most likely give up. Accordingly, you don't act as efficiently and ruin your manifestation. A lot of people are starting to change things. First, everything goes well, but then something breaks down. But they hold on to the old stuff and return to what they created. For example, you quit your job for your business, which has been going well for 12 months. You are enthusiastic. But then comes the test month where it doesn't go well, and then you give up and fall back into your old self, where that month was just a test, and then the next month, the income would have quadrupled. You have to know that and keep that fact in mind regularly. I always remind myself of such phases of the compound effect, which means that small, regular actions or decisions, when repeated over a long period, lead to big changes or results over time. This effect applies to all areas of life. So you should always realize, what if I'm about to reach this turning point here? After all, you cannot know how your manifestation will come to you. Therefore, trust that everything will go the way it's supposed to go. And you also have to keep in mind, for example, if nothing happens for a while, you start manifesting something, visualizing, affirming, and so on. You are now in full energy. You put your energy and your attention into the right things, but nothing happens for a while. For a time, the outside will still reflect what you may have thought, felt, or unconsciously visualized years or months ago, because reality is like a mirror. What you see on the outside reflects your inner world, what mental images you create, what thoughts you think, what emotions you feel, and how you frame things. And this mirror does not work like an ordinary mirror as we know it. Now, if you stand in the mirror and start smiling, the other side will smile too. But with the reality mirror, it is a bit different. According to the cosmic rules, this reality mirror acts with a certain delay. That's the way the universe wants it. If you like, it is part of the test. That is, if you send out positive energy today, if you send out a positive intention, it may not manifest for a few weeks, months, or years. You have to get through that transition period. Keep holding on to the internal desired image of what you want to see. Sooner or later, it will manifest. If nothing is happening on the outside, it's simply because the scenes you may have created a few months or weeks ago are just playing out. And that's where most people fail. They don't realize that what they're experiencing now on the outside is just manifestations of their old thoughts, emotions, and so forth. They must get through this transition phase, and their manifestation becomes real. That's where most people fail. They don't hold on to their internal image enough, are not convinced enough of what they are creating internally, and fall back into the mirror illusion. And accordingly, the internal image is then colored again by the external world, and they create exactly what they have been making all along. Therefore, remember that there is always a certain transition period simply a phase where the universe still manifests old patterns, thoughts, etc. But your manifestation will come if you keep your new internal state. That's so important to understand the whole thing. You don't necessarily have to ignore the appearance of the real world either completely. You have to realize, okay, this is, in the end, the past that is still manifesting here. So, in the end, it's just a question of trust or awareness whether you pass